This is the Boulder build for Season 10, and the only thing we'll be doing is casting our boulders non-stop. This build was made entirely with Chaos items, and even without mythics we were able to complete a pit 110 with ease. With this build you will be able to clear all the game content, orcs, dungeons and pit pushing, whatever you want. In this video I will show you how it works, the gear, skill tree, paragon, chaos perks and more. Are you ready to take your builds to the next level? Let's go with the video. Hey everyone, Zaior here, bringing you a new video that many of you have been asking for. The Boulder build for this new season. I was waiting to build this one until they fixed the bug with the chaos item Dolmen Stone, but unfortunately that still hasn't happened. So I had to build a version using the normal Dolmen Stone, but don't worry, it's still a very solid and fun build to play. As always, you will be able to push the pit and do whatever you want in the game. Before we continue, let me tell you that in the planner you will find this version we are seeing today, a farming version and one ready for when the Chaos Dolmen Stone gets fixed. Alright my druids, let's start by talking about the key items that make this build work properly. We begin with the amulet Dolmen Stone. This amulet is essential and mandatory if you want to play this build. And why it's so essential? Because its unique effect makes our boulders spin around as whenever Hurricane is active, which is one of the druid skills. For now, that's all you need to know. That's what makes this build special. Later in the gear section, I will explain which affix is best to increase how the boulder damage works. Next, we have another key item for this build that most of you already know, Basilisk Prayer. This item is quite complete for this setup. It has amazing affixes, but the special thing about it is this unique power, which makes our earth skills, in this case boulder, also count as weaver skills. That means every time we're casting boulders, we'll be doing in weaver form, taking advantage of quick shift at stacks, the survival instinct node and more that we will cover later. But the main point is this, our earth skills now also count as weaver skills. Just remember, we will be using its chaos item version, just like the next item we are about to see. Now we move on to Mjolnir Ring. Chaos version, remember. Its functionality? To take advantage of infinite spirit to keep casting boulders without worrying about resources. On top of that, it boosts our damage by 48%, since it's the chaos version. Finally, we will need this key aspect for the build, metamorphic stones. This makes our boulders count as core skills, which means they no longer have cooldowns, instead they consume a spirit, and they also benefit from all the passives related to core skills. Let's look at the game loop for this build. It's actually very simple. No complicated mechanics, just a few skills that involve the wild transformation perk. First thing we do is cast Cataclysm to get infinite resources and the damage buff. Then we cast Hurricane before casting boulders so that they start orbiting us, thanks to the Dolmen Stone's effect. After that we start casting boulders until we reach a maximum of 10 stacks, and try to maintain that number, because that's how we get the maximum Dolmen Stone bonus, in my case 50% more damage per spinning boulder, so that's a total of 500% more damage right here. That's the core of the loop. Then we have Claw, which serves two purposes, to stack quick shift and to trigger the wild transformation perk, nothing else, and Earthen Bulwark to gain barrier and survive better in battle. Remember that as we cast these skills, we'll be constantly gaining wild transformation buffs by shifting forms. Let's go over the gear in a simple way, focusing on the most important affixes and bonuses for this build. And before we start, keep in mind that the order of chaos items can vary. You don't have to use the exact order that I have here. We start with Mjolnir Ring. This item has a condition. If you don't have Nature Magic cooldown reduction with GA on your Dolmen Stone, you will need at least 2 upgrades in Endless Tempest, so your Cataclysm lasts longer and you don't run out of your ultimate, especially in boss fights. But if you have a GA on Dolmen Stone, at least 2 upgrades, then you can raise willpower on your Mjolnir Ring. Next is Fist of Fate, and the most important affix here is Lucky Hit. We will need as much Lucky Hit as possible because that's what increases our spirit recovery chance. It can also make enemies vulnerable, which is important too since it lets us deal more damage. On the gloves, Vanish Lord Talisman, its role is to increase our overpower damage, and here we will boost the core skill affix. On the pants, we will use Basilisk Sprayer, I already explained it earlier. The most important affix to raise here is willpower, since it boosts our overall build damage. For boots, we will use Ancestral Boots, ideally with plus ranks to Boulder, since that increases base damage. An important affix here is Hurricane Duration, which makes the build feel smoother to play. It's important to have more duration than cooldown for this skill, otherwise the boulders will stop spinning and you will have to wait for the next Hurricane. The aspect here will be Storm Shifter, giving us plus 5 ranks to Boulder. For the weapon, a 200 mace. The key thing is to have a high chance for Boulder to deal double damage. Anything above 90% is good, ideally 95% plus, so it happens constantly. The aspect here will be Retaliation, which does more damage than Metamorphic Stone. We tested on yesterday's streams and it's performing better. Next is Dolmen Stone, and the best affix to have here is Nature Magic Cooldown Reduction with GA, and at least 2 upgrades to reset Cataclysms faster, along with Hurricane and Earthen Bulwark. The second most important thing is Unit Effect. The higher the percentage, the more damage we get. This is the main damage difference in this build, so more is better. We will use 2 Ancestral Rings with the same affixes and temperings, one with the Challenges Depth aspect and another with Metamorphic Stone aspect. You can check all of these in detail in the planner linked in the description. The skill tree is pretty easy to understand. Let's go over a few key points. We start with Claw to alternate with Boulder, gain Quick Shift, and also trigger the Wild Transformation buff. We will add 3 points into Wild Impulse, since Boulder is now a core skill and this passive increases its damage. In Bloodhowl and Debilitating Roar, we assign these points because these abilities are cast automatically through Wild Transformation, even if they are not on your skill bar. That means when they trigger via Wild Transformation, we will still gain their buffs, making it both useful and powerful, giving us more damage and resistances. Another key point is Savage Boulder, because now our crits are guaranteed via Approach the Infected, so Natural Boulder won't help this time. By adding points to Savage Boulder, we can also benefit from Toxic Claws and the Keeper Glyph, since Boulder now deals poison damage. We will take these passives here to increase the damage of our Nature Magic skills, 3 points in Quick Shift, since we will always have it fully stacked while alternating abilities. Finally, for the key passive, we will take Ursine Strength, since this build focuses on overpowered damage. This passive is the best. It gives us more life, more general damage, and 100% more overpowered damage. Huge. Let's go through the Paragon, which is similar to most Werber and Earth builds. We start with Headhunter, which increases elite damage and gives us more willpower, meaning more overall damage. This glyph is key for pushing higher, since elite and boss damage become more relevant the deeper you go in the pit. Next is Earth and Devastation, a direct damage buff to our Earth skills. The glyph here is Earth and Sky, which got a great buff this season and is now mandatory for all Nature Magic skills. Then we go with Survival Instinct, which boosts overpowered damage and general damage by 45% when our life is full. This build is tanky enough to keep that buff active most of the time. The glyph here is Keeper, since it grants 50% damage bonus to Boulder, which now deals poison damage. Next, Handed Malice, to deal more damage to poison enemies, and the glyph here will be Spirit, to boost critical strike damage. Finally, we will use Ancestral Guidance, which increases our damage by 40% when spending Spirit. The glyph here must be Dominate, to greatly increase overpowered damage. The Spirit boons I choose for this build are the following. We start with Gift of the Stack, to keep our resources always above max and take better advantage over a band. Sweeping Attacks for more attack speed, since this build is a bit weak in that area, and Avian Grad, which boosts critical strike damage by 40%. Energize is important for pushing, as it's our way to generate resources and stack over abundance. That's why having high lucky hit on Fist of Fate is key. For farming, Calamity is a better option. Lastly, we will use Calm Before the Storm to have a chance to reset Cataclysm and not worry about losing our ultimate uptime. We won't use Obsidian Slam, since we will have the Shan Rune to guarantee overpowered hits for this build. Now let's move on to the Chaos perks for this build. These are the most commonly used Druid perks this season. We start with our unique perk, which gives us 120% more overpowered damage, an insane boost for this build. However, it does reduce armor and resistances, but honestly, you won't even notice. This build is well tuned to handle that easily. Then Purge the Infected, which guarantees critical hits, and those crits deal 60% more damage. Next, Overabundance, the DRUID's universal multiplier this season, a massive damage boost, absolutely mandatory. And finally, Wild Transformation, which gives the buffs you are seeing here, and for me the most important one is clearly the Werewolf form bonus, which grants 20% more critical strike damage. Huge. Alright my druids, we have got the Boulder build ready. Unfortunately, the Chaos Dolmen Stone is still bugged, but you can check its final version in the planner once it's available. I will leave you with a pit run so you can see the build in action. If you enjoy the content, consider liking and subscribing. That way we can reach more druids and RPG players around the world. See you in Sanctuary.